This is the 22nd season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, AFTCO, Pro Guide Batteries, Spro, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. The hits keep rolling. I've been able to get some pretty timely topic guests on in 2026, including Kazu and Sid from Spro. We brought, I guess we're all in on the Urchin now. You talked a little bit kind of about the backstory, about the history of that. We've had a lot of big tournament winning guys on. And today's guest kind of brings together, I think, like 4 or 5 of the big topics that have been all around bass fishing over the past couple years. If you listen to, like, I'm a big supporter of new blood in the industry, of young guys in the industry, of the next generation. I mean, that is how this sport grows. I think people forget back when it was the Larry Nixons and the Harold Allens and the Stacy Kings and the Denny Browers and, Rick Cluds at his prime. Like, those guys, as they age, there's like new generations of anglers that come in. Like, if you go back to the first year of the Bassmaster Elite Series, that 2006 season, and watch Dardanelle and some of those fisheries where, like, Greg Hackney was vying for the wins. Like, it wasn't like Greg Hackney, one of the most intimidating figures in bass fishing, the best flipper ever, shallow water power, like, you don't want to tangle with this guy. It was like, here's a young, unknown, up and coming guy from Louisiana. Let's see if he can hang with the big dogs. And it was that same thing for Ike Nelly when he came in the late 90s, even in the classic that he won, the never give up moment. Like, he was going against these icons, these big veterans in the sport who were the ones who were expected to win, who were supposed to win. And then as you had your Edwin Evers and your Skeet Reeses and your KVDs and those kind of guys grow up, then you had a whole new generation come in, and they were, how can a Justin Lucas or a Jacob Wheeler or a Bertrand or any of these guys compete against the kid? Like, this is the progression of the sport. And it's wild to think, we're have the Bassmaster Classic in a couple days here, and there's going to be guys who competed in the very first Bassmaster Classic. They're on Lake Mead when Scott went up in the plane and opened it up and said, fellas, we're going to Lake Mead. And they're going to be walking around the Classic Expo floor. So although you have 55, 60 years of history in this sport, it's a relatively young sport. And I think it's really exciting, at least it is for me, as a guy who got into this industry, started tournament fishing when I was 13 years old, been in the industry full time since I was 21 years old. And now I'm 41 years old fishing in it, to see the progression of the next generation. And you look at what Wade Middleton has done with college bass, and what MLF or FLW originally has done with the college series, and Bassmaster's done with the college series, and then the progression to the high school series that really kind of started there in the Midwest, there in the Illinois area, and said, hey, like, we're going to allow 13 to 17 year olds to letter in bass fishing. So, like, when they're walking through the school halls, they've got like a letterman's jacket on, like with a bass fishing patch on it, and they're competing for state championships right along with the dude who's doing it in basketball and in football. And we're going to have signing ceremonies where it's not just, hey, we got a new offensive lineman that's going to the University of Oklahoma. It's, hey, we got an offshore cranking specialist that's going to Bethel, that's going to Dallas Baptist. Like, that's all progression of the sport. Like, back in 1998, which is when I kind of started it, here was the progression. It was casting kids, like Bassmaster Invitationals. Opens. Like there was nothing in that middle. And there was so much focus and effort, especially in that 2000s, of the catchphrase growing the sport. How do we get young anglers into this sport where they're choosing bass fishing, where they're honing their skills? Like it was wild when Derek Remitz came in as a rookie and won on Amistad. It was wild when a couple years later, Casey Ashley went to Smith Mountain Lake in 2008 and outdueled veteran Dean Rojas with a frog to win at Smith Mountain Lake. Like rookies didn't win. The whole goal of rookies for 20 years was to survive the first year, get sponsorship the second year, survive the sophomore slump, start catching them in your third year, and build your brand to where 5 to 8 years in, you were a recognizable name who was able to fish. It's kind of weird. I got on like a wormhole the last couple days of NASCAR history. And you want to talk about, you know, the Good Old Boys Network and the guys who were in NASCAR. And then you had the newer guys come in, like Earnhardt was one of those newer guys who was like competing when he was younger. And then Jeff Gordon after that, and the Bushes and all. I'm not an expert in that in any way, but it's interesting to talk to listen to those documentaries and hear the quote old guard or the older established generation. He said, this is the way it's supposed to be done, how it's supposed to be done, how you're supposed to drive, where you're supposed to drive, how long you're supposed to be on the track before you can have success. And then that next generation, it keeps getting newer and newer to where they're growing up in the cars. They're studying more stuff. It's not just going out and going around, and they're there to win. Like we are here in a really cool transitional period in professional bass fishing. Rick Pierce mentioned this last year, walking down the hall of the Bassmaster Open, or the walkway down to Rayburn, where he said, look around, Matt. And Rick's been around for a long time. And he said, what do you see? And I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, look at all the people walking up to the registration. And I said, yeah. And he goes, do you feel old? And I was like, dang, there are. He goes, you know what I see? He goes, I actually see growth in the sport. I see young kids, 19 to 25 years old, who are excited to be here, who are the next generation of anglers who will take this sport to the next level. I think that's good. I wasn't planning on a 9-minute rant. I was just planning on saying, hey, we got the guy who won the Bassmaster Open this past week on Sam Rayburn with over 96 pounds of fish and multiple 30-pound bags and multiple double digits, and he's 21 years old, and he's coming off a top 10 on Lake Martin in the Bassmaster Elite Series, which he qualified for last year through one division of the Opens where he had 2 top 10s, and now he's won a bunch of money, and that's Pake South.
Awesome.
What's up, Pake?
Thanks for having me on.
That was a little bit of a rant. At 21 years old, heard that rant. Like, do you agree with that? Do you understand that? What is your understanding of the history of the sport? Is it weird blowing a 210 boat field out of the water with guys who have anywhere from 0 history to 50 years of history on Sam Rayburn, and you go out and just make it look easy at 21 years old?
It's awesome to be able to compete for sure, but it's cool to see how young everybody is coming into the elites now and coming up, how young everybody's starting. I think, like with me, this is what I've wanted to do my whole life. I grew up doing it. That's all I've ever wanted to do. So I started younger, and I think everybody else is starting that career path younger now than ever has been. It's cool to be able to already compete like I have at only 21.
Brandon Polinick, when he came in 2011 Classic where he competed with KVD down there in Louisiana. You go back, he was one of the first guys. He was walking around with the video camera fishing FLW stuff as a co-angler. He came into it. He's 21 years old. Like, he grew up absolutely obsessed with it. And you say, well, look, like, you're talking about guys whose time on the water from ages 8 to 15, when you're the most developmental, when your brain is open to learning, when you don't have any preconceived notions in it. If you're stacking days on the water, you're putting so much more experience into those 5 years of really educated learning time than a guy who fishes a team trail tournament, takes it really seriously every single weekend for 20 years, you can pack that into a couple years as a younger guy without those responsibilities. Because like, I mean, how long have you, would you say, treated this as a job, not just, I like fishing and I like to go out fishing? Like, how long have you been going on the water saying, this is my goal, this is what I want to do, and I am out here to get better because I want to be on the Bassmaster Elite Series?
I've always had that as a goal, like since I can even remember, since I was, 5 or 6 years old. But as far as being on the water every single day and really working towards it, it's really when I started high school fishing, was when it really lit a fire under me. And then as soon as I graduated high school, when I had the ability to be on the water every day, that's when it started. I was on the water daylight to dark every day that I could be. That's when I really kicked it into high gear, I guess you could say, and fished as much as I possibly could and fished as many tournaments that I could get entered in.
And the drive, you seem like a prime example of a guy who really benefited from the boom generation of high school anglers. Like, we're talking jerseys, we're talking 300-400 boat tournaments, national championships, regional championships, high school sport. Like, you really dove into the high school fishing.
Yes, I did. So I said, I always wanted to be on the elites, and was kind of, me and my dad go fishing every single weekend since I was a little kid. Since I could walk, we'd go fishing every weekend. But really, when I got into that high school fishing, my freshman year of high school, I kind of sucked, honestly. I don't know that I ever caught a limit all year. It wasn't good. Never cashed a check. And then my sophomore year, like the second term of the year, we got second. We practiced a little different, spent more time practicing, spent more time doing map study and research and all that, and went out there and got second. And when I got second in that tournament, it kind of lit a fire under me and fired me up even more than I already was on the tournament side of things. And the rest of the year was really good. I think top 5 in the year that year. And just from then on, it's just been growing and growing and growing progressively every year as far as my tournament success goes. And being able to fish those high school tournaments every year all the way through high school benefited me more than anything. Almost just fishing a bunch of tournaments, getting quality tournament time on the water, having a lot of times in tournaments, it benefited me a ton.
You have a YouTube channel. Most of it is the high school stuff, which is wild to look at now. I mean, you are one of the 101 on the Bassmaster Elite Series. You have a top 10 on the Elite Series. You have the open record weight, and here it is, just like
that's my personal best right there.
Just like, this is like 3 years ago. I mean, here you are in the high school stuff. I mean, just the rapid progression of this. Like, how many of the skills would you say you learned in the high school fishing has translated, like, as far as just like, what's the biggest help? Is it how to fish it? Is it the process? Is it the understanding of multi-day tournaments? Like, what is it that the high school anglers are benefiting from now most that allows them such, and I don't want to call it an easy transition, because like I said, we'll have 500-600 and we're hearing about the Trey McKinneys and the Pake Souths and the Easton Fothergills and those type of guys. There's hundreds and hundreds who aren't there. But how prepared does the high school fishing, do you believe, help get to the next level? God, that is a big fish, Pake.
That's my personal best right there. That was a 1280 caught during that high school tournament. But I think a lot of it is the on the water decision making part of it, and the mental side of tournament fishing is so huge that's where it helps. I mean, like I said, my freshman year I sucked so bad, but even when you don't do good, even when it doesn't work out during the tournament, you always learn something. Like my freshman year, I learned what not to do, and you. Just fishing that many tournaments and having a boat captain like my dad there with me to help me when it wasn't going good during the tournament, and I say, hey, we need to move, we need to go do this or that. Yeah, I hadn't watched this video in forever. That's old.
I mean, not super pro. You got the jersey, the shades on the top. You got a little backlighting there. You got your trail bike up there back. You're talking about how your shades helped you for the dub right there. You got the trophies.
That was a long time ago. That's back when we had the old Skeeter back in the garage. That's before we got the boat shop built. Got that Skeeter that we fished out of. My dad still has it right there at my Phoenix right behind me here in the boat shop. That was back. We didn't have a boat shop or nothing. That was just backed right up in the middle of the garage.
Dude, you had some mad flow going on back then too.
Oh, I had a pretty wild mullet going on back then.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Anyway, back to the high school fishing, because I got some questions about the high school fishing, because I mean, I'm interviewing you and it sounds like it's the greatest thing since sliced bread, which it is.
Yeah, it helps the whole tournament fishing atmosphere of it, because you have, the way I look at it, you've got time on the water and then you've got quality time on the water. If you're going out there every day, throwing the same baits, fishing the same lake, fishing the same spots, you're going to get really good at that lake, at those spots, and at that bait that you're throwing, but you're not building on anything. You're not learning everything you need to learn to be able to go across the country to a bunch of different bodies of water and be able to adapt. That's where the quality tournament time on the water helps. And all time on the water is good. But I think having a lot of tournament time on the water helps tremendously more than just going fishing. Now, obviously, like when I'm not fishing tournament, I'm still fishing. I go fish a whole bunch of different lakes, always trying different stuff to learn. But that's where the high school fishing, it gets a platform for kids like me growing up, and then all these other younger kids that are coming up through it, to go fish a bunch of different tournaments. It kind of forces them to go fish different lakes, different times of the year, and just build that decision making. And it helps to have like a boat captain or somebody there with you to kind of help you along that decision making. And it just goes in your memory bank for when you get out there outside of high school and get in another tournament and get a certain set of conditions or something going on. You can look back to your history and be like, okay, in this high school tournament, my dad said, hey, the wind changed to doing this. We need to go do this real quick. And you kind of fall back on that and help you help you along when you get outside of the high school deal.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what I'm hearing you say is it's kind of like any other sport. Like you could go to a high school gym and have a basketball practice where you're just going through the motions, you're shooting the ball, but you're not really learning. You have a coach that's really involved in it, understands the game, understands the importances and the nuance to grow as a player / angler in the fishing, to where you're productively practicing. You're not just running lines. You're not just shooting free throws. You're not just out there fishing. So it takes that combination along with like a drive, I would assume. Like, are you a believer in like natural talent in fishing? Do you think there are people who are just born with the ability to understand nature and how fish react, or do you think that it's that kind of quality coaching at a young age that puts you on the right path and then allows you to learn at a more rapid rate than other people?
I think it's both. I think there's some people that are just born with it, that are just don't need that much practice. I feel like there's people that are just born good bass fishermen. They can just go out there and catch them. And then there's some people that need coaching and can learn really fast. And I think the people that really excel kind of have both. You can't just be good at bass fishing, be a natural good fisherman, and not put any of the work in and still get to the top. I think you have to have both. I think you kind of have to be born with a little bit. You can be taught though. If you have drive and you're willing to put the time and the work in, I think you can learn it. But there is people that are just naturally born with it too.
So from the age of 6, 7, 8, 9, like when was the first time that you remember saying, I want to be a Bassmaster Elite Series pro and fish full time?
I don't know, probably 6 or 7 years old. Watching the Texas Toyota Bass Classic on Lake Fork. I can remember going to those weigh-ins of that deal and watching on TV. As young as I can remember, I've been watching Bassmaster on TV, and like every time I watch one of those classics, I knew I wanted to be right there when I grew up.
They also called that the Keith Combs Invitational back in the day.
Yes, sir. Yeah, Keith smashed.
Chartreuse powder blueback.
Oh, yeah.
That's his jam. I was making a joke at this tournament. I said, I know Keith has a house around here somewhere. It's going to be a chartreuse painted house with a powder blue roof on it. Paid for it with it.
Yeah. That crankbait gets bit.
But I think that's important to know. So, like, even 15 years ago, 20 years ago, if you're a young kid, the path to professional bass fishing was get really, really good, fish as much as you can, pond fish around, join a bass club when you're 16, trade school, college, whatever it is, to be able to have the disposable amount of income that you need to get a really good job to where you can then afford to jump up to the BFLs and pay that $300 or $250 entry fee. You get a couple years of experience in the BFLs, maybe jump in a Everstar, a Toyota, a Coast, or whatever you want to call them now, and then have some success around the house, then jump into the Bassmaster Opens and start the process of qualifying. But if you look at that, that's like really murky as a way to do it. There's a lot of things that are involved in that. That was the standard game plan. That's what it was for 20, 30 years, where, you know, family, finances, life. I mean, by the time you're doing it, like the average age of an established Lead Series pro 10 years ago was 41 years old. Now it's much lower than that. But I think it's important just that, like, I look at you and you've had a path and a game plan and a good coach and have had your head screwed on straight and the drive to do it from the time you were young. So yeah, it makes sense that a 21, 22, 23, 24, 25-year-old is able to compete at this level because it's been in your system for 15 years.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I've put the time on the water, and even though I'm 21 years old, I feel like I've put a lot more time in the water than some people that are older than me. And I don't think a lot of people look at it that way. They just look at how young we are and they point straight towards Live Scope or daddy's money or whatever else that they can point to. And me and like Fisher and all the other young guys have put in a ridiculous amount of time on the water. Like it's every single day.
P. Cook, right on cue. Now you just need FFS and some money flow.
Yep.
Okay, let's get real. This is my first conversation with you. I don't want to put you in any tough spots, but I'm gonna ask the question. I don't think you would disagree that the utilization of technology and the understanding of it and the maximization of it in a tournament where everybody has the exact same system. There's not, I mean, unless you're John Cox or someone like that, like everybody has a dialed in active target 2 or an LVS 34 or a Humminbird Mega 2 Live. Like, I mean, that's on everybody's boat. Everyone's practicing with it. Everybody's doing it. In your opinion, would there still be Pake South and Trey McKinney's and Easton Fothergills and 19, 20 to 23, 4-year-olds that we're seeing making waves at the top level if FFS never existed, but the structure of the organizations and the information and the path to the top, everything stays the same, just take FFS out? Would we still see so many young guys at the top just because we are in a new age and this is the progression of the sport, or would there be way fewer?
There might be a few less, like maybe a little less, but I really think the majority of the young guys that are up there now would still be there, whether you take out Live Scope, FFS or not. I do still think the younger, it would be getting younger and younger still. I didn't grow up fishing with Live Scope. I mean, I'm young, but Live Scope came around. I think we got it on our boat like my sophomore year of high school. Didn't have a clue what I was doing with it until my senior year. Like, it might as well not have been on there. It was just kind of there. We had it on one of those little pole things on the side where you had to reach down and turn it every time you wanted to point at a fish. Had no clue what we were doing with it. So like I still think the younger generations would still be where they are now. I think, I mean, maybe a few less. It shortens the learning curve for sure. I'll
Mhm.
agree with that. You can break down a lake so much faster with it. But just the amount of time that me and everybody else my age puts on the water, I still think we'd be around the same spot we are now.
I fished that tournament, Pake. I roomed with a guy who's won over $1 million and won invitationals. I talked with another guy, a TBF champion. He's won over a dozen boats. Like, we tried to break down the lake with it and use it. We all caught 15 to 17 pounds a day at this event. Like, it's not like, oh, yeah, guys had forward-facing sonar. They could see where the big ones are. I was up there looking for the damn big ones on forward-facing sonar, Pake. Trust me, we all were. And we all thought we had a game plan. We'd all been there. We'd all spent time on it. It's just, it's interesting. It's interesting to me that I think there's a lot of anglers. I'm going to say this. Should I take you off the screen while I say it? Should I just go like that when I say it? No, I'll leave you on. I think there's a lot of anglers that use forward-facing sonar as a crutch for their lack of success and to justify in their minds why they're not on the Bassmaster Elite Series, why they're not winning everything, why they're not cashing checks. And that is how you reconcile in your mind that you are not the next KVD. I think there's a lot of people that did that with the daddy's money before. Well, if I had the money to go out there and do it, I would be able to do it too. The money thing was before the black box. It's just, you can't see the money thing. You can see the black box and you can see the transducer. That's just my opinion as a 41-year-old angler who really enjoys competing in this, has had some success, has also gotten my teeth kicked in, and I'm 100% comfortable with where I am at it. I love going out and trying to get better. And I don't think you beat me and everyone else in the field because you had forward-facing sonar. I think you beat me and everyone else in the field because you grew up wanting to do this since you were 6 years old. You started guiding on Lake Fork when you were 17 years old. It's your neck of the woods, and you had the foresight to get there for what, a day and a half of practice? And look down and say, it's freaking February on Rayburn, and when I get up in the morning, I don't have to have a hoodie on. These suckers are moving. And you went and freaking found them. It wasn't because you turned your live scope on. We all were looking at live scope. You just looking at freaking big giant ones.
Yes, sir. I think a lot of it, just because you turn it on doesn't mean they just swim off into your beam and let you throw at them. You still have to go find them. You still have to know about bass fishing and bass behavior and where they should be and the movements of the fish to be able to find them, to look at them. I mean, it's not like you can look across the whole live scope. You've got 100 foot that you're looking, and however far you can pan it around your boat. You still have to put yourself around them.
You started guiding on Fork, what, 17, 18?
When I was 17, like a week after I graduated high school.
Okay, like you in a boat by yourself with people who paid you money as a 17-year-old to go out on Lake Fork, and you put them on fish, and then they paid you money at the end of the day, and then you did it over and over again. Am I understanding that process correctly?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's
like, dude, at 17, I was still like, hey, I'm going to make sure I get to the boat ramp at 5 because I'm a little nervous backing it in around 50 other guys. So I'm going to make sure I get there easy. Like, did that seem easy to you? Were there nerves in that? Do you think that helped you when you've got a freaking 11-pounder wallowing around on the final day of the Bassmaster Open with all those stumps and the guy in the back, and you know you're on live and you know it's the winning fish? You were just like, oh, look, that's one of the right ones.
It helped me a little bit. A lot of that's just being around big fish my whole life. Like, when I hook one that big, yes, it's a giant, but like, and it's still, obviously you saw how fired up I got. It never gets old, but it wasn't like the first giant one I ever hooked, so I didn't start freaking out as soon as I saw it. But with the guiding deal, there wasn't a whole lot of nerves to it. I just kind of went into it with the mindset of, I'm just going fishing, but instead of me fishing, I'm going to hand them the rod and tell them how I would throw it, where to throw, and all that. And it went pretty smoothly. The first fish a customer caught in my boat was like an 8.5 pounder.
No joke.
The very first customer fish, and they were almost a little irritated when they got there at first. I put the boat in the water, and they said, well, so how long you been guiding? I said, well, I mean, y'all are my first trip. And they said, oh, so we're guinea pigs. And I said, I guess so. We'll still go catch them. And then they were asking me, so what are you, like 23, 24 years old? And I said, no, I'm 17. And they said, you kidding me? What do we get ourselves into? Like they're almost a little irritated. And like first 30 minutes of the morning, one of them caught an 8.5 pounder, and they were okay for the rest of the day.
So it wasn't like starting out with like friends from church. It was like people you didn't know that showed up at the ramp that you just had like a guide business that you set up, and they called the number and said, we'd like to go out.
Yes, sir. I started posting on Facebook and like Facebook groups around Lake Fork, and had some people reach out, and met them at the boat ramp the next morning and went fishing.
What made you think you could do that at 17? Was your dad like, hey, like, maybe let's wait till we can vote?
No, he was supportive of me guiding. He's part his idea, part my idea to start guiding too. And like I've grown up around Lake Fork, grown up knowing a bunch of the guides around Lake Fork, and have kind of always been in that atmosphere, I guess you could say. So it's something I knew I wanted to do, and it's one of the only jobs that you can have to make your own schedule, stay on the water every day, and still make some pretty good money. So it's seemed like the best route for me to be able to fish every day. If there's a tournament I want to go fish, I just mark it off on the calendar and don't book any trips that day. I don't have to ask a boss or anything if I can have off work, and it just worked out perfect. So as soon as I graduated, I started advertising on Facebook and just grew it from there.
How many days do you guide a year now? And did so say 18, 19, 20, 21. I think I read where you like tried college for a little bit and were like, yeah, no, I'd rather be fishing. Yeah,
I went to college for 3 semesters. I was going to try to start a college team, and then they pretty much told me that they weren't going to pay for anything, which was fine. I was fine with kind of self-funding it through the guiding, but then they told me if I won any money in the tournaments, it had to go back to the school. So it sounded like a way to lose. That doesn't
seem
money.
Yeah, that doesn't seem right. Not paying for anything and then just give us money.
Yeah, so whenever I figured out I wasn't going to fish in college, I kind of lost all interest in going to college. And it was
so how many days a year then? 180 days, 200 days a year?
Somewhere around there. It started off slow, like maybe 30 or 40 days my first year guiding, not a whole lot. And then it kind of just built from there. 3 or 4 days a week until I started fishing the Opens. And then now I barely guide anymore now. I don't hardly have a whole lot of time.
Is that East Texas Lake Fork not one of the most, outside of probably like Gunnersville and then down in Florida, some like I've heard stories like it's not easy to break into the Lake Fork guide scene, Pake. It's a little surly from some of the stories that I've heard down there. They don't like new folks coming in taking customers.
No, it's not. But growing up and being from there, everybody was super nice. I didn't have any of those kind of issues when I started guiding. With it being Fork, it feels like there's like 3 or 4 new guides every year that just pop up. So sometimes, it can be like that, but it wasn't for me, just me being from there. Growing up there my whole life, I knew everybody already, and I didn't have any issues at all. Everybody was super nice.
Yeah. You're basically like the West Canaan quarterback. Like you grew up in high school football country. You knew you were going to be the high school football quarterback. You knew that you were going to have it's using your smarts and your dedication to stay on the path that you wanted since you were young and not getting distracted. Have you seen a lot of your buddies who like in high school, a lot of people that you met who are like, I'm going to be a professional fisherman, but then that drive gets swayed somewhere down the way. And it's like, man, that guy was really good, but like he lost interest or he got into sketchy stuff or anything. What percentage would you say of the younger guys who at one point are like, I'm going to do this, actually make it? Because like I said, there's 500-600 of these guys in the high school tournaments. There's thousands of college anglers, but we're just hearing about the top 0.1% of you guys. There's got to be a ton of guys who are trying to walk the same path that you walked with minimal success.
I think there is a big percentage of guys that are like that are good and just lose the drive to do it. A lot of it is, it does cost a lot of money to do it. I'm very blessed to be to meet people through guiding that had some successful companies that helped me kind of get my start. And if I didn't have that, I probably wouldn't be on the elites right now. So it does, a portion of it is the financial side of things, and a lot of it's the drive too. You can't lose the drive to do it, because as soon as you lose the drive and slow down, you fall way behind, because there's always several people that do have the drive that are going to pass you up. So you can't lose the drive, and you have to keep pushing on it until you get there. And then even when you get there, it doesn't ever stop. You can't ever stop. You can't ever lose that drive.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna take a break. You good? I got a lot of fishing questions that are popping up on the instant feedback here. We'll take advantage of that. You good if we take a quick break and come back and then hit you with some fishing? I want to talk about a little bit of Rayburn, how you settled on where you settled. Like that drone shot on the final day was wild. It looked like you just had gigantor Megatrons just funneling into your area that were just looking for, like, just with bad attitudes, just bad intentions. And if anything got next to him, I love that Bass had the split screen down there where they could see it. And 100% committed, full aggression. This thing is dead as soon as I get my lips wrapped around it. It was cool to watch. You good for another question and answer segment here?
Yes, sir, for sure.
All right. We're chatting with the most recent all-time record weight holder who called it out when it happened. He said, "Sorry, Scott, it was fun while it lasted, but I think this puts me over that 90-pound mark." And then the question was, can he get to 100? He's a couple bites away, and Rojas might start taking notice. That 45-2 at 9 a.m. wasn't completely out. I want to ask you about that when we get back. It's BTL. I don't even know what day of the week it is. I'm doing so many shows. BTL on a Wednesday. We dropped CTL, Crappie Talk Live, last night. If you want to go do that, it was an open water show. I'll be headed to Lake Fork for Crappie Fest here in April. That was like my favorite event last year. It's the biggest trophy I won for a damn crappie tournament. Tells me that I had a rough year last year. It's BTL on a Wednesday. We'll be back right after this.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
When I'm in a tournament, conditions are constantly changing and every second matters. With the Deep Dive app, I can instantly pull up all the current lake conditions all in one spot. So no more looking at weird government websites. In just one quick glance, I have water clarity, water level, wave forecast. It's all right there in the Deep Dive app. Download the Deep Dive app and get all the tools you need to put together an awesome tournament.
At Beatdown Outdoors, we know you depend on your gear to hold up in any condition. We built for that. We test for that. In fact, we pride ourselves in that. Because we know when the time comes to test your gear, you aren't going to take it easy, so we won't. We build premium, made-in-the-USA products that you can rely on in the moments when your equipment should be the last thing on your mind.
All right, welcome back. BTL on Wednesday, talking with Pake South after, was it 96.15? 96.5.
96.15.
96.15, almost 97 pounds in 3 days. So you come from, let's set a little timetable here. You come from Lake Martin, spotted bass fiesta, a couple big largies weighed in. You really only have 4 Bassmaster Opens under your belt at this point. You survived Guntersville in the no scope with the middle of the pack field. You go to Lake Martin. I'm assuming you planned on catching them there. And what, you finished 8th?
Yes, sir. 8th at Martin.
So, second Bassmaster Elite Series tournament, 21 years old. You had to be pretty jacked coming off your first top 10 and only your second Bassmaster Elite Series tournament against those guys.
I was pretty pumped up about it. It was Martin was a good tournament. It's one of those ones that, like, one bite determined the whole tournament almost. Like, you had to get one above average bite a day to set yourself apart, and it was one of those ones I just made good decisions the whole tournament, except for the final day where I had 8 pounds. But if there's a day to stumble, it's the final day where you can't fall any farther. But Martin was it was a good tournament, and I was definitely fired up coming into Rayburn.
You finished in the top 10 last year at Rayburn in the Open in the division that qualified you for it. You're from this neck of the woods. You're familiar with this body of water. You had a day and a half of practice as opposed to 3 full days for everybody else. It started out, it was just off the tail end of the Toyota too. So there's a lot of information about, just public information about where fish caught, what it was going to take to cash a check, how they were, even though it was only scoped for a third of that period. You had 200 guys that were running around that thing, but you had 0 cold weather. So when we first got there for practice, we're talking 53-degree water, maybe 56, 57 as it got up shallower. You wake up in the morning, you take the cover off the boat, it's 60, 65 degrees. We've got some sunny days, 70, 75. You start creeping up shallower, you see 70-degree water. So you get there, you've got a day and a half. You dump the boat in, you're jackpotting this Open. You know you're fishing just for cash. You're not fishing all of them, so you know the Classic isn't on the line. What was your process when you dumped that boat in, knowing you had a day and a half and you are there to make money?
I pretty much practiced to where, like, I'm sure you saw at Rayburn, about everywhere you put the trolling motor down, there's 2-pounders swimming around.
Mm-hmm.
I pretty much completely ignored them. I acted like I was not seeing any bass unless I was seeing big ones. I went out there. I kind of went to some history right off the bat. The first day I got there, I put the boat in the water at like noon or 11, somewhere around then on Monday, and just went to some history where I caught them last year in the Open. Wasn't really that good. I saw a few big ones, but nothing. It was like one here and one there. And then the next day of practice, kind of just ran some more history, some stuff that I'd, caught them on in the past, but I just went and everything's different now because the lake's 9 foot low. Mm-hmm. So it's none of the stuff I usually catch them on is really even in the water, or it's either not in the water or barely in the water. So I just kind of went and ran around and looked at some new stuff, and I didn't really have that great of a practice. And I caught probably 17 or 18 pounds the first half day of practice, and probably I had like 8.5 and 2 5s the second day of practice, or I guess would have been the final day of official practice, but they were like 3 miles apart from each other. Like I caught one in one creek and then ran 10 minutes and caught another one here. And it was nothing that I could, put a pattern together or like an area I could pull up in and catch them. Everything mm-hmm. was just scattered out. So I just had to kind of go practicing a little bit during the tournament.
So you didn't know, and did you end up fishing pretty much the same area all 3 days of your tournament?
Yes, I did.
So you went in there not knowing what you were going to come away with, but knowing that it probably gave you the highest potential.
Yes, I knew that big fish lived in that area. I've caught them in there before, but it was not good during practice. I mean, it was all right. There was a few in there, but not great. And I didn't even start in there on the first day. Like I started at another area where I caught that big one the last day of practice, and come out of there with like 11 or 12 pounds, I think. I threw mm-hmm. back like one 3-pounder that would have had me at like 13 or 14. The only reason I threw that one back because she got hooked in the gills and it was bleeding. Tossed her back, and I left there. It was like 9 o'clock. I had like 12 pounds in the box, and I was kind of thinking, it's not good. It's kind of embarrassing. I got back to Texas, and I've got 12 pounds. So I went, made a long run back over to where I saw a few in practice and pulled in there and had 28 pounds in like 2 hours with the 10 pounder.
Were they just everywhere?
They were all over the place.
And they were all just big.
most of them were big. I mean,
And were you the only one in there?
There was one other guy in there throwing a crankbait down the bank.
He probably didn't catch anything.
I didn't see him catch any, no.
And at that point, did you know, like what did the thought, oh, everyone else is so screwed, cross your mind at that moment before you knew what anyone else had when you're looking in and catching those fish?
I knew I was sitting pretty good, but also at the same time, it's Rayburn, and I'm thinking, you know, if I pulled into this area and they're doing it, it's not only this area that it's going down. So I knew I still needed a little bit more, and I kind of messed up the first day because, like, I went through that area, caught 28 pounds, and I never went through there again. I didn't want to beat on them. It's not like I, went halfway through it, caught 28 pounds, and just left. You know, I fished the whole area thoroughly. I fished through the whole thing, and then I went and started checking all my other stuff, and none of it was any good. Didn't ever cull again the rest of the day. And then got back to weigh in and realized I was in fifth and thought, oh, man, I probably should have went back through there again.
Yeah, so Riley Harris comes in 37 pounds, 36.15. There's another 30-pound limit. Jace Lindsay, 28. You had a 28, then a 26. So, like, going into day two, was it like seek and destroy everything, go back through it, leave nothing on the table? There's fish coming in here. Let's see if we can just absolutely freak show it.
Pretty much, yeah. I went through there and just threw it every big one. I went through there multiple times. And then it was one of those, like, I knew that they were coming to me because there was way more there than what was in practice. So I was like, okay, they're coming. I can lean on them today. There'll be new ones for the next day. So I went in there and just absolutely leaned on them. And I guess it's kind of funny. One of my buddies showed up in there the second day. I never told him where I was fishing. He was on the opposite side of the lake the day before. Never told him where I was fishing. Never even told him the section, really. I think there was like 3 or 4 people that showed up in there that didn't fish it on the first day because of the wind. They thought the wind was blowing too bad.
Did you Tommy Biffle him?
Do what?
Did you Tommy Biffle him? You know what that is?
No.
Do you know what that means, Pake?
No, I don't.
Tommy Biffle, like if he has stretch and he caught him on the first day, on the second day, someone rolled in on that stretch, didn't care. I mean, his brother, mom, anybody could have rolled in on that stretch. He'd go over and he'd say, hey. And they'd be like, what's up, Tommy? And he's like, see this stretch? And they'd be like, what stretch? And he points from as far as you could see one way to the other. He goes, I'm fishing this stretch. And they would be like, really? And he'd be like, yeah, you need to get on. This is my stretch. Didn't see you in here yesterday. It's my stretch. And they would say, yes, sir, Mr. Biffle. And they would leave.
No, I didn't pull that. Everybody was super nice and kind of let me hit it first. It was kind of fun. Like, nobody even hole jumped me or anything. Like, it wasn't like there was no boats up there. There was nobody there to see me and then show up the next day because they saw me there.
Yeah.
The wind switched directions and everybody showed up there on the second day, but I was still able to catch them. And I went through there multiple times and then caught what I caught 34 pounds. And I really still didn't think it was enough to be leading it.
This is a great point. I said, I don't think it has anything to do with the technology. Let me ask you this. So it gets done. I was talking with Matt Steffen on the phone on the way home, and I've got you here. So I'm going to ask you this question then. And we'll get into how you caught him, the shallow scoping, the unique baits, the way it went down, because you did catch fish that you were seeing on forward-facing sonar. But I said, Matt, just looking at it, I said, this was a tournament where 6-7 years ago, it would have been won out of the exact same area, except it would have been won on a glide bait, and he would have gotten 2 or 3 big ones a day instead of casted to a ton of big ones, or it would have been a mag wacky Cinco or something like that. But I still think that it would have been one out of the same area. It just would have been 1 or 2 chances for a big one, and a 26-pound bag would have been really good as opposed to a 36-pound bag. Do you agree with that statement, Pake?
I completely agree with that. If there was no live scope, I probably would have been in the same area. It would have just been different techniques and different baits. I would have had a big old square bill tied on. I would have had a big jig flipping those trees. And I think I still could have won out of the same exact drain with no live scope. The baits would not have been as good. I don't think you would have seen the record broken, but I do think it could have been like all the guys that top 10. I think you could catch them all out of the same areas without live scope.
All right. Final day. You get out there. Iconic scene here. I mean, this is as East Texas as it gets. You got the East Texas guy boarded raised in a stump field on the final day, pre-spawn, fish funneling back to him. I don't have the audio. Now, I'm not going to lie. When I first saw this, were there any doubts in your head about that hook set? I went through this with Andrew Benke on his 12-pounder that he cranked up yesterday. But to my untrained eye, it looks like a complete whiff on the initial hook set, right?
So this fish, if you can barely see the tree in front of me, but she was around the other side of that tree. That's why I switched over the top. It's not
that
the
was
tree
a
that's
sick move. Right in front of the right there.
It's not that tree, but the tree right past it. You see the swirls there?
Yep.
That tree. She was around that tree when I set the hook. So I felt like I got a pretty good hook set in her, but as soon as I swung, I was trying to get her around the tree.
Right there.
Yeah. I pulled her around the tree. That's why I did that. I had several people ask me about that hook set. I felt like I hit her decently hard. Good enough to where I felt like I got a good hook in her.
Did that fish just admit defeat right away, or do you have like a magic setup to land 11 pounders in 5 seconds in heavy timber and shallow water?
Kind of both. She didn't go crazy. I mean, there's some of them that'll just go crazy on you, and it doesn't go that easy at all. A lot of it was the setup. I'm throwing big line, not a giant rod, but I mean it's a 7.3 medium heavy Fenwick, 20-pound line and the 8-3-1 reel. I feel like a lot of people when they hook one that big, they're kind of scared to lean on them and let the equipment do the work, and I'm not really. I leaned on her and winched her to the boat, and she comes straight to the boat.
Let's go back and watch the end of this. So is that the second biggest bass you've weighed in outside of that high school one?
I think so. Yeah. Outside of the high school, that'd be the second biggest. I've weighed in. That's probably the 4th or 5th 10-pounder I've weighed in a tournament.
You're like, dude, that just happened. Look at that look on your face. Like you're pretty, like you knew at that moment, like that was yours to lose. Like you knew you had it won right then, right?
I knew I still needed another one. I still had 4 3-pounders in there at that point when I caught that one. And I had no idea that fish was that big until I grabbed her. Because what's crazy is so that fish was swimming with another one that was way bigger.
No.
Like when I panned over there and saw them, there was 2 of them swimming together. And I was thinking, just based off the difference in the size of the fish, I was thinking it was like a 4 or 5-pounder and like a 8 or 9-pounder. And I threw, and the little one just shot up and ate it, and it was that 11-pounder. So I have no clue how big the other one was. Probably somewhere in the teens.
Holy smoke. So you could have had the potential. Did you obviously knew what the record was? Like, did you just know that because you're a fan of the sport, or did someone say like, hey, you have a chance to set the record, and then you looked it up the night before?
Just because I was a fan of the sport. When I saw this tournament on the schedule last year, I looked at it and said, okay, the record, somebody is probably going to break the all-time weight record, just the time of year it is. And as low as the lake is, there's no fish up in the bushes. They're all swimming around where you can scope them pretty much. So I kind of marked this one down on the calendar as one that I could break the record in, and that was kind of my goal going into the tournament.
All right, then let's get into the hot and heavy life-changing controversy. So then the top 8s come out. You're like, hey, it's like a stunner on that. And then everybody's like, but look at that picture. That's an odd-looking jerkbait. So, yeah, I mean, at 21, like you tried to pull, not tried to pull, but like back in the day, it would be like they would come off and you'd be like, what'd you catch them on? And like the guy would be like this with a wink and take the picture of it. But there's no live. There were no photographers out on the water. You had the guys, you'd be like, that's weird. The guy just won on that bait and there's not a single scratch on it. But then you came out, you were like, yeah, dice style bait whatsoever. Like, was that, I mean, like people like kind of came after you on Facebook and on live and stuff like that. Was that kind of weird?
Yeah, people are jumping all over me still. Like right now, I'm still getting comments about it. People calling me a liar and all kinds of stuff. And the scope comments don't bother me. Those irritate me a little bit because I wasn't. There's 2 days of this tournament that's not on live. I caught fish on the stunner the first day and the second day of the tournament. I threw it at some on live during the final day while I was on live. Like I caught fish on it. I weighed some in on it the first day and the second day. I think both those days I had one on it. The only reason I quit throwing it was you saw how mad that 10-pounder was, how mad all the other fish I was catching. Like I was losing fish. The day I had 28 pounds, I probably should have had over 30, but I couldn't get them to the boat just because you hook them on a jerk bait with 12 to 15 pound line in those trees. Everything's got to go right to get them in the boat. You can't just reel them and winch on them as hard as you can. So like I was throwing the stunner. Obviously it wasn't the bait that won the tournament for me.
I kind of felt bad for you because just having covered this for so long and talking, I'm thinking 21 years old, you're on the Elite Series, you have new sponsor deals that you're doing everything you can to show them, look at the value that I'm providing for you. This is what I'm doing. It is what it is. You win this tournament. It sets the record. It's on a bait that 99% of companies don't even offer. It's a style of bait that is not on the market, that is currently just weighed. I mean, I saw other companies already that were like, should we drop this? And I'm sure, you know, all of the others will have the big, you know, this urchin style bait on the market too. But I kind of felt bad for you because in your mind, I know there had to be like a little bit of, okay, how blown up is this bait now that I just caught him on it? Because I'm sure in the middle of the tournament, when people are asking you this, like you have no idea what pictures are out there and what's not. And part of it is having the edge. And this is a bait that a handful of guys have used. B, it's certain things that you're doing with the bait that you're doing with the bait. And you don't owe anybody how you're rigging it. I mean, it's part of fishing is you have things to yourself. Like it feels like the past couple of years. I mean, I run a show. I'm asking you, I'm trying to get information where people watch the show that I make money off of and be like, oh, well, Pangrac will get it out of Pake. He'll get it out of how he was catching about it. But us all as an angler, I understand it. And then, you know, B, you're like, I don't want this company upset at me. And now C, you're like, now you're in a pickle.
Yeah. I mean, obviously I wasn't going to hold that up for the top 10 pictures. And I wasn't, it wasn't a lie. I didn't weigh anything on the final day, but yes. And they take the top 10 pictures before the final day of the tournament. They take them that morning.
Yes.
So yes, I mean, who knows if I was going to catch one on it on live or not? Like, you don't know. I caught some on it the first 2 days. So I held it up for the picture. And that's a great
That's
bait.
what they don't understand. Is it Andy Crawford or Chase Sampson? He comes over and he's like, hey, give me your final baits. You're trying to get mic'd up. You got the camera in there. You're like, whatever. You hold it up. They take a picture and then you go on with your day. Then that comes out at the end of the day. That is before. That is just the top 10 baits. Like you could have caught them all Carolina rigging an 8-inch lizard on the final day, and that wouldn't have been in your top baits gallery.
Yes. I think a lot of people don't realize that those top 10 pictures get taken before the final day, before you even start. It's taken that morning.
Okay, but seriously, how good is this thing?
Pretty good. It works. I don't really know why.
I'm not gonna badge you on it. Hit me. Just give me 2 reasons why you think that bait works. As far as profile, fall rate, how you fish it. Just 2 things that you think might make it effective, potentially, hypothetically.
It's a big profile, got a big presence in the water, but it's silent. There's no rattles, nothing, no hooks dangling around like on a hard bait. And it's something that you can get a good reaction bite out of. You can twitch it, and it stops when you twitch it. It stops dead still after you get through twitching it. So it's a good thing to get them to react, but it's subtle. It doesn't make a whole lot of noise, but it has a big presence in the water. I really have no idea what they think it is, though, because I don't think we have sea urchins swimming around Sam Rayburn. But it works. I don't really know why, but it does.
How long has it been on your radar?
It's been on my radar for over a year now. I have not thrown it until like right after the Opens ended. Like, I really wish I'd have figured that out going into the Opens last year. It would have been wild because nobody was throwing it then. I started messing with it like right towards the end of the season. Like, I had one tied on at the EQ at Okeechobee, and I don't think I threw it the entire tournament. Like, I just had it tied on and messed around with it in practice, and I didn't know what to do with it. And then, like, during the off season, I kind of started messing around with it and started figuring it out. And now it's kind of blown up, and you probably can't even get them anymore.
I got a full cast scupper dog sitting right here that I told, like I said yesterday to Becky, it sat right here for a year and a half as a novelty on my BTL studio desk.
That's kind of the same way for me. I had one for a while, and like me and my tournament partner would, like, it sat in the floor of the boat so long that the legs melted off of it, and we played with it like a bouncy ball. We were like, man, look at this thing. It's so stupid. It's just a bouncy ball. And that was like a year and a half ago.
It's wild. Fisher won on something similar that's smaller. I was at that tournament. You could literally, like, if you were parked and power pulled down, you'd like look on either side. Every single guy had these things tied on. I would venture to say 75% of them had no idea what to do with it. I was 50-50 on it. I knew what to do with it and didn't have the confidence to do with it, but it wouldn't have mattered because I wasn't around the big fish. So it's not like I was like, oh, I wish I known how to fish it better. I was like, oh, I wish I was good enough to get around big fish. That was more my sentiments after this tournament. But I will say this, and I know you chat with a bunch of other guys. Is there anybody, like, there's not like one way to rig this thing. Like, if you give this bait right now currently to 10 Elite Series pros and 10 BPT pros and 10 Open pros, you are going to come back with 30 different ways that it's rigged.
Yep. There's not like one specific right way to rig it. You kind of just rig it the way you think's best, and it, whatever works for you. I've figured out a good way to rig it that I'm not going to share. But there's a few people doing it. There's a ton of different ways to rig it. Like, there's not a right way or a wrong way to rig it.
How long is this craze done? Is it over? Is it already like on the downswing? The minnows, I would say a year and a half, 2 years in of mainstream media attention, with 2 years before that of guys going out going, this is way too easy, and we almost feel bad taking the guys' monies who aren't minnowing or who are just, not doing it. Before that, like Nico a little bit, but everything gets exposed now because live coverage on live photo galleries. Like, I can go, hey, look at that thing sticking out of its mouth. Like, you could do that 10 years ago. You could hide something under your hat. In your experience, like, you've been doing this a long time, even though you're 21. What is the life range of this style of bait? Is it peaked? Is it on the downturn? Is it going to stay level? Is this going to be a Cinco style thing because of how it's different and you can do different things to it to where it's always going to be in the arsenal moving forward?
I don't think we know yet, honestly. I think it'll last at least another year, maybe. It just depends. Like, when I first figured it out and was first throwing it, it was seriously almost every single bass you threw it at, and now it is not. Like, if I caught every bass that I threw at Rayburn, I would have broken 100 pounds easy. Like, it wouldn't even have been close with what I was throwing at during the tournament. So they're definitely getting smart to it already, but I feel like it might be one of those deals that it's going to that style of bait's just going to hang around for a while. Like, even though the minnow's gotten blown up and it's not near as powerful as it was a couple years ago, it's one of those deals that, like, people still catch them on a minnow. And I think people are still going to catch them on a minnow for years. It's probably going to be one of those type of deals. But I guess we'll see. Only time will tell, and see if people still keep winning on it, see if they still keep biting it. Because that is one of those baits. There's a bunch of stuff you can do with it. So I guess time will tell if it'll last a while. But I think at least 6 months or so, it should work. Because there's a lot of people that, like you were saying, there's a lot of people that have them that don't really know how to rig it, hadn't figured out how to rig it yet. And at the end of the day, you still have to be throwing it around the right kind of fish. If you're throwing it at 2-pounders all day, it doesn't do any good. So you still got to find the fish to throw it at. So I think it will last for a little bit longer.
Frankie, who had a good tournament, and he finished like 50th. That's a good tournament out of 210. I know, like, we have Pig on who's like, oh yeah, you just win by 15 pounds, catch 30 pounds, 11s, 10s. It's why you're on the show.
Always work out like that.
He goes, I think putting pressure on fish in an area makes them skeptical regardless of what baits you hit them with. Agree or disagree with that statement?
Completely agree. It doesn't matter. Like, even if I go behind people that are just not even scoping, just throwing around, just the presence of the boat and baits being thrown around them, the fish start getting weary. You always have a higher chance of catching those fish if you're the only boat in there and you're being quiet and not making a lot of noise.
Is there, and I'm not asking you to share it if there is, but like I said, you're one of the top guys right now. Is there a secret bait or baits right now where you kind of go around and you look at the other young dudes out there and you just kind of give them a wink because you know you got something in your back pocket that no one else is throwing, and you're already on to the next one, and everybody's on to the urchin now, and you guys are 3 baits ahead and are already throwing what we're going to hear about, what the average angler is going to hear about in a year and a half, 2 years from now? It is top secret. It is in the rod box. It is not used during live, but to get to that position, that bait is tied on, and then it goes in the lock box, in the rod box, and there's a standard. We're not talking about this thing until one of us wins 100K on it.
I wish there was. I wish I knew something like that, but no, I don't. I hadn't figured out the next big thing yet. I guess.
I'm not saying to ask it. I'm not. He goes like he's going to tell us. I'm not asking you to tell us. Do not tell us. I'm just curious if that exists.
I think right it now does. It's out there. It's out there somewhere. I hadn't figured it out yet, but it's got to. Every time we think what else is somebody going to come up with, then you have some kind of spiky sea urchin thing that comes out that they just eat. So I'm sure there's some kind of weird looking something that somebody's going to come out with that'll be the next big thing. But no, I have not figured it myself out yet, but I think it is out there.
Do you think someone has figured it out already?
I'm sure there's somebody that's figured something out.
Are they winning high school tournaments with it? It's got to be a high school kid, doesn't it?
It may be a high school kid, or it's probably still over there in Japan somewhere.
Oh yeah, that's true. When I went over to Japan, so I've got like just a case of weird stuff, and I'm kind of excited to get out and see if they bite it. Like really weird looking stuff. But now you look at it and you're like, oh, this looks amazing based on what the koiki is. But at the time, like, I mean, I still look at it and it's even wild on that. But like, there's such a wormhole. Like, there's so much weird stuff that you can't actually buy. Like, how do you know when you're wasting your time and when you're not? I mean, I guess that's just like you have to put time in on the water, time on the lab, get around fish that are active, understand what they're looking at, how they react to things, and figure it out on your own. Because if someone else is telling you about it, you're already late to the party.
That's the deal. Like, that's like what we just talked about with the koiki or the sea urchin, how long that we've had it. And before we actually threw it, before it started getting blown up, you probably had the next bait in that box of weird random baits that you have. You just got to figure out how to rig it, how to throw it, and like when to throw it. And that's one of the hardest things to figure out. You can go buy all kinds of weird stuff, but figuring out how to throw it in the right conditions to throw it in is one of the biggest pieces you have to put together to figure out the next big deal. And I'm still working to try to figure out what in the world it is.
How many years do you want to do this for? Are you going to like be like 30 years in, 50 like right now? Or are you looking at like Rick Clunn going, I want to be that guy?
I want to be that guy. I'm going to do it as long as I can.
Nice. Nicest guy through the first 2 Elite Series stops that you thought you would be intimidated by, but that actually was chill with Pake South.
I have not talked to that many people, honestly. You
get the cold shoulder. Like, is there an intimidation factor?
A little bit. Not the fishing side of things doesn't intimidate me a ton. It's super cool to be fishing against that caliber of guys and guys that are that good. And it's not that I'm intimidated. I just know that I can't stumble. Like, when you look out across that field and you're coming in with a subpar bag and you pull up there, you're fixing to be way down the leaderboard because they're going to catch them in every tournament. Like, you cannot slack off at all. You lose a fish, there goes 20 spots. You're about to drop down but I'm not really intimidated by it. Everybody's been super nice. Hadn't really had any bad run-ins with anybody at all.
You got a favorite pro? I mean, you were in high school 3 years ago, so of course you've got a favorite pro. BP?
Yeah, Brandon Polinick, I'd say my favorite. I've looked up to Brandon Polinick since I was a little kid. Since the first time I met him at one of those Texas Toyota Bass Classic deals and got to hang out with him eating lunch there. And I really look up to Polinick. He's definitely my favorite on the whole elites.
He does it right. Like everything on the water, off the water, personal life, family life, sponsorship wise, media wise. Like there is not a weakness in Brandon Polinick's game.
Not at all.
All right. When was the last time you just threw a straight Texas rig, not for a bedding bass? Just were like, you know what? I think I'm just going to go down. Like, you know what I think the right thing to do is here? Just to pick up a 3/8 ounce creature hog. See, I help you out there with the Berkeley. And on a fusion hook on 20-pound 100% fluoro with a 7.6 heavy Fenwick, and just go down the bank and just flip.
Would probably be at the Dual Threat tournament at Okeechobee. Of course, I was flipping for no money, but yeah, that we went just fishing there. I mean, it's Okeechobee. I was throwing a Cinco around, throwing a general, just slinging it up there in the reeds. There's definitely times where I quit looking at the scope and just sling a Texas rig up there. It was what I had to have been at Okeechobee for that tournament.
If you're an East Texas guy, you have to. Like Harold Allen, Hemphill Gang, that man lived and died with a 6-inch pork pin. Pork pin on a 3/16, 20-pound string. Just give him the beans.
Mm-hmm. I do that a lot guiding. Like that, you can't take everybody out there. You put 2 people in your boat guiding. You can't scope all day. Now, there's a bunch of people that want to learn about scope, but like that's one thing with guiding. Like I don't know how many fish we caught just throwing a stick bait down the bank in the spring and dragging a big 10-inch blue flake power worm out there in the summer. Like it has put a ton of fish in my boat.
Anything else you have a burning desire to get in here before I let you go? Yeah, it's funny. We had that thing 3 years ago. You look at the back and down in the shop, like, my God, I see 4 big checks, multiple trophies, at least 50 plaques.
I've stacked it up pretty good. I've got some local stuff, some TTO, there's a Bassmaster check, some Bass Champs, all these ones with like the Texas flag on them or the high school stuff. A lot of that's local stuff, and there's my trophy from last year from Rayburn, and from this year up there up top. I've been very blessed to stack it up over the last few years.
I hate to say it, but with the way you're fishing and the tournaments you're fishing in, you're going to need more shelf space and not wall space. Plaques are nice, but like, I feel like you're going to get a lot of trophies that don't hang on the wall. They like sit on mantles.
I hope so. That's the plan.
Blake Dillard said we were happy he wasn't at Bass Champs this weekend.
I wish I could fish Bass Champs. They have a Elite Series rule that says I cannot fish, or I probably would show up to some of them. I will be at TTO at Cedar Creek, the next TTO tournament.
Yeah, I think that was a compliment by Blake there.
Probably.
Saying he would have been fishing.
I've heard that a lot since I made the Elites. Now that I can't fish a lot of the stuff here around the house.
Interesting. All right. I appreciate it, man. That was a great interview. It was great to get to know you. I'm sure you'll be doing a lot more podcasts and shows if you Rick Clunnett. So Rick, dude, if you fish until you're 76, that's 56 more years of this.
That's pretty wild to think about.
56 more years of this.
That's a
insane.
long time.
Yeah, I will be very dead by then. And you'll still be cashing checks. All right, dude. Thank you very much. Enjoy your little bit of off time, and I'm assuming you'll be at the Classic.
I think I'm fishing a TTO that weekend.
Oh,
I might
make money
run
when you
up
could be
there
on the
and
expo
run back.
flow.
I might run up there and run back. Hadn't decided yet, but probably going to be fishing a tournament, trying to win some more money that weekend.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, dude.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me on.
Later. There you go. Pake South. Not much to say there. I mean, like, all business, born to do this, and is doing it very well, and has his name in the record books at 21. We'll take our final break of the show. When we come back, wrap things up. We have a live show tonight with Frank Scalish. I see Frankie Jr. in the comments. I'm going to try to get him on, and then Frank can tell us where we screwed up on Rayburn. We both had good finishes, and we didn't have Pake South finishes, but then again, no one had Pake South finishes. So it's BTL on a Wednesday. We'll be back right after this.
As a professional angler, there's only one thing that connects you to your paycheck. Probably the most crucial part to tournament bass fishing. I use Sunline because they have a line for every application. Shooter, FX2, All Might, super light line, big stuff, big sticks. Sunline has you covered.
Sharp as can be. Super strong, super durable.
Really good penetration.
Thinner and stronger.
Catch fish after fish.
I want to make sure that I'm using the best stuff possible.
World's finest hook.
World's finest hook.
Gamakatsu. World's finest hook.
I fish in some of the worst elements across the country. Spring, that's a giant, dude. Summer, oh my gosh. Hi, look at that thing. Winter, it's so cold. And fall. Got a big one, that's awesome.
Being comfortable and staying dry is the only option.
AFCO, any fish, any water.
All right, welcome back, BTL on Wednesday. Wrap things up here tonight, 7 p.m. Central Time. Frank Scalish. We're going to have a couple cervezas. We're just going to chat. We're going to open up the StreamYard hotline. So if you want to grab a cold one tonight, jump on and chat with me and Frank. It's kind of a makeup show since I was fishing in the Open last week. And that'll be a live show tonight, 7 p.m. Who knows what we're going to talk about. And then tomorrow morning live with Frank Scalish. And then in the afternoon, Austin Cranford in studio. Didn't make the Elite Series till 30, so clearly over the hill. Is going to talk about his first two tournaments. He's going to bring in some clips. We're going to break down those clips, and then we'll wrap up a crazy week of BTL. And then we're just 4 days away from the start of the Fishing Chaos BTL benefiting St. Jude tournament. You can go to fishingchaos.com, click on that. It's under their featured tournaments, $25 entry fee, 100% goes to St. Jude. Goal is to raise $10,000 for St. Jude. It runs from March 1st through April 15th. You can join anytime through there. You catch your 5 biggest fish, basically lengthwise. You cull it out. If you catch 1 on March 1st, 3 on March 15th, and 6 on April 2nd, all of those, it takes your 5 longest. You compete against other people in your region. Cash and prize, it's like $200 cash, $500 gift prize every week. The longest bass in each region, $25 gift code to AFCO. Really encouraging you, if you haven't tried the online tournament, try this. It is very simple. I'm going to do a short little video also, and then we'll have Tom Brubaker on again one more time just to go through it. But I was intimidated by the online tournament stuff. Didn't really want to have anything to do with it. Once I tried it, it's super fun. I really enjoy it. All artificial. Public bodies of water. If you're fishing in other tournaments, you can measure those fish, submit them. It takes 20 seconds, and you can kind of get a 2-for-1. You can also jump on Strike King. Lose Rather has some great stuff on there. Bill Dance, Tyler's Real Fishing. You can enter all of them at the same time, and that way when you go fishing, you hook that big one. You're like, oh, it's cool, because you're just like, a lot of times, I was just like out fun fishing, and then I hook a big one and be like, oh, that'll help my best 5, because that tournament, the Scott Martin one, lasted 2 weeks online, so it gave you a little bit of a feel. If you're in the Sam Rayburn area, you probably might do pretty good on a Koike full cast up shallow around stumps in specific parts of the lake. But all right, that is, what am I forgetting? I don't think I'm forgetting anything. Thank you to Pake South. I know he's done a bunch of these interviews. Heard nothing but good about him from the surrounding community. There's a lot of guys that he beats, and he's been beaten by for a lot of years in that part of the country, that East Texas Lake Fork region, that are pulling for this kid, that have nothing but positive things to say about him, that says he goes about his business right. He puts his head down. He goes to work. I think just from the caliber of that interview and any of the other podcast shows that you listen to that he's been on, either before or after his win, there's not a lot of fluff. There's, doesn't get super excited, but there is a lot of quality there. And, when he said he wants to be like Rick Clunn in this, I see no reason to believe why he won't be here 50 years from now, when we're all just in like a room with like virtual reality goggles on, and then we're just using our mind to manipulate where we would go and how we would catch fish. And then the person who thinks about it the best, they can calculate how big the fish he would have found was, and then you actually don't have to go on the water or use a bait or catch a bass or anything. You're just mentally competing against other people telepathically in tournaments, and that's how you determine the winner. Tonight, 7 p.m., Frank Scalish. See ya.